Here's a pretty quick build. I've got this big pile of DVDs that's been sitting in the corner of my room for a year now. I had some 1x4 wood left over from my experiments with the bike rack wheel scoop, so I figured I could just throw something together out of that. So I lined up my DVDs, measured them out, and figured I would do 2 shelves just in case I bought more. I like owning DVDs. They're reliable, trusty, and won't disappear on you randomly when the licensing server runs out, or whatever. I'm still bummed Person of Interest got bumped from Netflix. I sketched out a basic design that I had envisioned in my head. It would have one leg and just kind of lean into the corner, which I would then reinforce with command strips. The boards that I had are thinner than the DVDs, so I added these spacers so that the boards kind of fall in the middle of the boxes. It would look sleek, modernistic, good enough. That's an important target. Good enough. Some of my good friends are very industrious and they value quality work, which I totally understand. I'm thinking of one in particular. When he builds furniture or fixes something around the house, he puts in tremendous effort to make it high quality. And his stuff is amazing. They're really works of art. But it's a double-edged sword. Anything that isn't done just right gets under his skin. And sometimes good enough is good enough. All engineering is just making something good enough to meet requirements. Admittedly, requirements that are actually well thought out, derived, and explicated, but requirements nonetheless. Anyway, here's my sketch. I was going to make the leg out of a dowel, but I decided, in the pursuit of simplicity, to just use the same cheap wooden board. I also made some calculations as to the leg angle and the board length to get just the right projection out from the shelves for that tilting action. These ended up being more or less useless because my tools lacked the necessary precision to deliver on it. Speaking of tools, I picked up this chop saw at a yard sale for about $10, which is worrying because I don't know what it's been through. That said, a new blade should prevent catastrophic failure. So I went to the hardware store that shan't be named and bought a new blade, the wood, some black stain, and a cheap brush. I cut the boards and then stained them in my driveway and let them sit outside for a few hours. I moved them undercover around 9 at night, at which point I realized the shelves were different lengths and that I had stained the leftover piece instead of the second shelf. Cue me painting stain onto a board hanging from the ceiling using a hook I had found and a shoelace laying in my garage in the dark. I let that sit for a day or so, then brought it in and screwed it all together. And it looks alright. Pretty good, even. Though I may be biased in favor of my creation. After testing, it works. Kind of. It sags a little, but nothing command strips can't fix. Here's where the leg precision was useless. I just stuck it wherever the leg felt like it started carrying its own weight. It didn't matter if I was off by a few millimeters. I didn't even care if I was off by centimeters, maybe even inches. And it works. It holds my DVDs and even my controllers. The leg looks way lamer than I had hoped, and it doesn't take a woodworker to notice the imperfections, but it only took a few hours of work and cost about $15, plus the stain, the brush, and the screws that I already had. But it's good enough. And I made it in an afternoon. It works, and it doesn't bother me. So maybe, sometimes, good enough is better.